Question: what is the role of the Inspector Generals and who assigns them? Also, Congress's role? ChatGPT said, Inspectors General, IGs, play a crucial role in ensuring transparency, accountability, and integrity within the U.S. federal government. Here's a breakdown of their roles and how they are assigned, along with Congress's role in their oversight. Role of Inspectors General, IGs, oversight of federal agencies. IGs are independent officials responsible for overseeing the operations and activities of federal agencies. They work to ensure that these agencies are functioning efficiently, transparently, and ethically. Investigation and reporting. Investigating allegations. IGs investigate allegations of fraud, waste, abuse, mismanagement, and violations of laws or regulations within their respective agencies. Auditing agency operations. They conduct audits and inspections to assess the effectiveness and efficiency of programs and services. Reporting findings. IGs report their findings to the agency's leadership, Congress, and sometimes the public, ensuring that issues are addressed and corrected. Promoting accountability. IGs help to maintain accountability within the federal government by identifying inefficiencies, ethical violations, or illegal activities within agencies and making recommendations for improvement. They often help guide corrective actions, from policy changes to disciplinary measures. Whistleblower protection. They protect whistleblowers, individuals who report misconduct within their agencies, by ensuring that their complaints are properly investigated and that they are shielded from retaliation. Appointment and assignment of Inspectors General. Appointed by the President. The President nominates Inspectors General, who must be confirmed by the U.S. Senate. The IGs serve across administrations, meaning their work is independent of the political party in power. However, they can be removed by the President with justification, and the law requires that Congress be notified of such removals. Independence from agencies. IGs must maintain independence from the agencies they oversee to ensure impartial investigations. While they are appointed by the President, their authority and independence are safeguarded by law to prevent political interference in their work. Congress's role in oversight of inspectors, general confirmation and removal, confirmation. As mentioned, IGs are nominated by the President and confirmed by the Senate. This provides Congress with an initial check on who is appointed to these positions. Removal. The President is required to notify Congress at least 30 days before removing an IG. If the President removes an IG without proper justification or does not notify Congress, this may violate the Inspector General Act of 1978, which mandates due process for their dismissal. Oversight and accountability. Committees of Congress, especially the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform and the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, are responsible for overseeing the work of IGs. Hearings and investigations. These committees can hold hearings, summon IGs to testify, and conduct investigations into the actions of agencies and their IGs. This is a key way Congress holds agencies accountable for their actions. Review of reports. IGs submit annual reports to Congress on their activities and findings. Congress uses these reports to monitor agency performance and address any concerns raised by IG's legislative action. If Congress believes that an IG is not fulfilling their role appropriately, or if they suspect interference in an IG's work, they may introduce legislation to address these concerns. For example, Congress can pass new laws to further protect the independence of IGs or to strengthen their role in oversight. Ensuring whistleblower protection. Congress has passed several laws, including the Whistleblower Protection Act, to ensure that whistleblowers are protected and their complaints are handled properly by IGs. They also ensure that IGs act in the best interest of citizens when investigating fraud and abuse in government programs. Summary Inspectors General are appointed to safeguard the integrity and efficiency of federal agencies. They investigate misconduct, recommend improvements, and protect whistleblowers. They are appointed by the President and confirmed by the Senate, but they must remain independent from political influence. Congress plays a significant role in confirming IGs, overseeing their work, and ensuring their independence. Congress also holds hearings to investigate allegations of misconduct and can pass laws to protect the integrity of IGs. Question: what to know about Inspector Generals being fired by Trump? ChatGPT said, during Donald Trump's presidency, there were several instances where Inspectors General, IGs, independent officials responsible for overseeing government agencies, were either dismissed or reassigned. These actions drew significant criticism, with some arguing that they were part of a broader effort to curtail oversight and accountability within the federal government. Key instances of Trump firing inspectors. General Michael Atkinson, Intelligence Community IG, date: fired April 2020. Reason: Michael Atkinson, who was the Intelligence Community Inspector General, was fired after he passed along the whistleblower complaint that led to the impeachment inquiry into Trump's dealings with Ukraine. Reaction: Atkinson's firing was widely seen as retaliation for his role in initiating the whistleblower investigation. Many critics believe the firing was an attempt to silence oversight of the Trump administration's actions. Glenn Fine, acting Pentagon IG, date: fired April 2020. Reason: Glenn Fine, the acting Inspector General for the Department of Defense, was removed from his position after being appointed as the chair of a group tasked with overseeing the government's $2 trillion COVID-19 relief package. Reaction: Fine's removal was seen as part of a broader pattern of undermining independent oversight, as his work would have involved reviewing how the government distributed emergency funds during the pandemic. Christy Grimm, Health and Human Services IG, date: fired April 2020. Reason: Christy Grimm, the HHS Inspector General, was removed shortly after her office published a report showing that hospitals were facing severe shortages of supplies to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Reaction: the report was seen as critical of the Trump administration's handling of the pandemic. Trump publicly criticized Grimm's report, which many saw as part of a wider attempt to punish government officials for speaking out or challenging the administration's narrative. Daniel Cameron, Department of Justice IG, date: fired March 2020. Reason: Daniel Cameron, the Inspector General for the DOJ, was reassigned under controversial circumstances. His removal raised questions about whether the Trump administration was seeking to shield the Department of Justice from scrutiny. Reaction: while Cameron's departure did not spark the same level of controversy as others, it contributed to broader concerns about political interference in independent oversight. Steve Linick, State Department IG, date: fired May 2020. Reason: Steve Linick, the Inspector General at the State Department, was removed from his post. Linick had reportedly been investigating the sale of weapons to Saudi Arabia, as well as the actions of Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Reaction: Linick's firing was viewed by many as retaliation for his investigations, especially given that the firing took place just after Pompeo was reportedly questioned about the sale of arms to Saudi Arabia. Elliot Broidy, former Trump associate. Date: while not directly linked to Trump, there were reports in 2020 about efforts to influence the role of IGs in cases involving associates of Trump, including Broidy's lobbying activities. These instances fed into ongoing concerns about the Trump administration's relationship with IGs, impact and criticism, erosion of oversight. The removal of inspectors general was widely criticized as part of an effort to weaken independent oversight of the executive branch. IGs play a crucial role in investigating government waste, fraud, abuse, and misconduct, so their removal raised concerns that the Trump administration was trying to reduce accountability. Republican versus Democratic reactions. Republicans often defended Trump's firings, framing them as necessary for efficiency or because of specific misconduct by the IGs. Democrats, on the other hand, argued that these firings undermined the system of checks and balances and weakened the role of watchdogs in the federal government. Whistleblower and accountability issues. Many of the IGs who were removed had been involved in investigations related to sensitive issues, such as the Ukraine scandal, COVID-19 response, and arms sales. Critics saw these actions as an attempt to stifle oversight of Trump's policies. Final thoughts. The dismissals of inspectors general by Trump were a significant and controversial aspect of his presidency, drawing attention to potential issues of accountability and transparency in government. The actions sparked debates about the proper role of IGs and the importance of an independent oversight system. While the Trump administration framed some of these moves as efforts to streamline government operations, the broader perception was that they were politically motivated. Question: let's talk about the recent firings of IGs by Trump. The mass dismissal of 17 inspectors general, IGs, by President Donald Trump in January 2025 has indeed raised significant concerns and legal questions. Here's a breakdown of what happened and the major issues surrounding the incident. The firings. On January 24, 2025, President Trump announced the immediate firing of approximately 17 inspectors general, across various federal agencies, including the Department of Defense, State Department, Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, Department of Veterans Affairs, Department of Energy, and Department of Transportation. The IGs were notified via email, with the stated reason for their dismissal being changing priorities. Notably, Phyllis Fong, Department of Agriculture, Christy Grimm, HHS, and Robert Storch, Department of Defense, were among those removed. Legal concerns. Federal law requires that the president provide a 30-day notice to Congress before dismissing an IG. Critics argue that this law was violated, as the firings were immediate and done without the required notice. Some experts suggest that this could be a violation of the Inspector General Act of 1978, which governs the removal process and ensures that IGs can act independently without political interference. Reactions and criticism. House Democrats quickly condemned the firings, calling them an attack on transparency and accountability. Representative Jerry Connolly referred to the action as a Friday night coup aimed at undermining government oversight. Republicans, including Senators Chuck Grassley and Susan Collins, also expressed concerns, particularly about firing individuals whose job is to expose fraud, waste, and abuse in government. The dismissals sparked worries that the removals would lead to a lack of proper oversight and accountability across important government programs and agencies. Legal action. On February 12, 2025, 8 of the fired IGs filed a lawsuit, challenging the legality of their terminations, which could lead to a protracted legal battle over the issue. Phyllis Fong's removal and Neuralink. One significant aspect of the dismissals was the removal of Phyllis Fong, the Department of Agriculture IG, who had been investigating Neuralink, Elon Musk's brain implant startup. Fong was reportedly looking into allegations of animal cruelty related to the company's testing on monkeys, with reports that dozens of test monkeys had to be euthanized. Neuralink had allegedly misled investors about the safety and marketability of its device. This investigation was ongoing when Fong was fired, raising questions about whether the firing was connected to the probe into Musk's company, Neuralink. There were also concurrent investigations into Neuralink by the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. Summary of the situation. The firings have led to major questions about government accountability and the political motivations behind the dismissals. The abrupt nature of these actions, especially at a time when some of the IGs were investigating sensitive issues, has sparked significant concern among both political parties and watchdog groups. Legal challenges and public scrutiny are likely to continue, particularly surrounding the alleged violation of the Inspector General Act of 1978 and potential conflicts of interest tied to the investigation into Neuralink. It seems like the situation is still evolving, and we could see more developments, especially with the lawsuit filed by the fired IGs. Question. In your opinion, was these firings of IGs by Trump politically motivated in order to cover up crimes? ChatGPT said, "While I don't have personal opinions, I can offer an analysis based on available information. The firings of Inspectors General, IGs, by Donald Trump in 2025 raised significant concerns among both critics and some members of his own party. The timing, scale, and context of these dismissals suggest that they were more than just routine administrative changes. Here's a breakdown of the factors that contribute to the perception that the firings could have been politically motivated. Timing and context. Mass dismissals. The fact that 17 IGs were removed in a single night, January 24, 2025, raised alarms. Normally, dismissals of IGs are spread out over time, and such a mass firing was unprecedented. The abruptness of these actions, especially in the middle of investigations, caused many to suspect political motivations behind the firings. Investigations into sensitive issues. A few of the dismissed IGs were investigating issues that were closely tied to Donald Trump's policies or businesses. Phyllis Fong, the IG for the Department of Agriculture, was looking into the treatment of animals at Neuralink, Elon Musk's company, at the time she was fired. There were also reports of potential misconduct at Musk's companies, Tesla and SpaceX, which some IGs were overseeing. The Department of Veterans Affairs IG, Michael Missel, was also removed, and there were concerns that investigations into military contracts and veterans care might have been politically inconvenient for Trump's administration. Legal and ethical concerns. Violation of legal procedures. The Inspector General Act of 1978 requires the President to notify Congress 30 days before firing an IG, and failure to do so could be seen as a violation of the law. The immediate nature of these firings, without prior notice, added to the perception that they were part of a broader effort to undermine accountability. IG's role in oversight. The key role of IGs is to ensure that government operations are free from fraud, waste, and abuse, and they often oversee agencies that are involved in politically sensitive or financially significant operations. Given that some of the dismissed IGs were investigating aspects of Trump's personal interests, e.g., his business ventures and government contracts, their removal raises questions about whether they were targeted for standing in the way of investigations into potential misconduct or unethical behavior. Political motives, protection of allies. The firings occurred just after significant developments involving Trump's allies, including Elon Musk. By removing IGs investigating areas tied to Musk and other key figures, Trump may have sought to protect these figures from potentially damaging investigations. Erosion of oversight. Critics, including members of Congress, saw the firings as a move to weaken oversight over federal agencies and to dismantle transparency. Representative Jerry Connolly referred to the dismissals as an attack on transparency and accountability, a view shared by many critics who believe the actions were designed to limit independent investigations that might uncover politically damaging information. Conclusion. Given the timing, the nature of the investigations, and the legal concerns, it's reasonable to conclude that the firings may have been seen by some as a way to curtail oversight on issues that were potentially damaging to Trump or his allies, including business relationships. While there's no definitive proof that the firings were solely to cover up crimes, the circumstances surrounding them have led to accusations that they were politically motivated, particularly in an attempt to protect certain business interests or avoid further scrutiny. Of course, as with many political actions, interpretations can vary widely, and the full implications might not be clear for some time. Let me know if you'd like more insights on this issue or others related to these events. What should be done to stop this behavior by Trump? ChatGPT said, to address and prevent the actions that led to the mass firing of inspectors general, EIGs, by Donald Trump, or any future administration, several steps can be taken at the legislative, executive, and judicial levels. These actions would seek to restore and protect government transparency, accountability, and the independence of oversight institutions. Here are some potential actions that could be taken. 1. Strengthening legal protections for IGs. Amend the Inspector General Act. There is a need for stronger protections to ensure that inspectors general remain independent from political pressure. Some proposals include making it more difficult to remove IGs by requiring a thorough review process by Congress or an independent body before an IG can be dismissed, requiring more transparency in the process of dismissing IGs, including a public justification for the removal to ensure that the reasons are not politically motivated, strengthening the 30-day notice requirement to Congress, ensuring that any firing of an IG is properly reviewed and justified before it occurs. 2. Congressional action and oversight. Holding investigative hearings. Congress can hold hearings to investigate the motives behind the firings of IGs. Lawmakers can subpoena relevant documents and witnesses to determine if any laws were violated and if political interference was the primary reason for these dismissals. Legislation to protect oversight. Congress can pass legislation specifically aimed at safeguarding the role of IGs in the future, making it more difficult for any president to fire IGs without just cause or a thorough review process. Promote bipartisan support for oversight, ensuring that both Republicans and Democrats agree on the importance of oversight bodies like IGs can lead to more effective legislative protections. It's critical for both sides to support the concept of independent investigations that hold government officials accountable. Promote whistleblower protections. Congress can ensure that protections for whistleblowers are enhanced, so that employees who raise concerns about potential government corruption or misconduct can safely report it without fear of retaliation. 3. Judicial action and legal challenges. Court challenges to unlawful firings. If IGs are fired unlawfully or without proper justification, they or other affected parties can file legal challenges in court. A court ruling could establish legal precedents that reinforce the protections for IGs, helping to prevent similar abuses in the future. Strengthen judicial oversight. Courts can play a vital role in holding presidents accountable if actions like mass firings of IGs are deemed to violate constitutional principles of checks and balances. Courts could review cases of unlawful dismissals and issue injunctive orders to prevent further actions that could undermine transparency or accountability. 4. Promote public awareness and advocacy. Public pressure and advocacy groups, non-governmental organizations, NGOs, journalists, and activists can raise awareness about the importance of IGs and the dangers of removing them for political reasons. Public pressure can prompt political leaders to act in defense of independent oversight bodies. Transparency and freedom of information. Encouraging the public to use the Freedom of Information Act (FOIA) to demand transparency regarding government operations, including IG investigations, can ensure that future abuses are exposed quickly. Advocacy for electoral accountability. Voters can hold politicians accountable at the ballot box by voting for those who support transparency and independent oversight in government. Political candidates who make safeguarding the independence of inspectors general and government accountability a priority should be supported. 5. Executive action and reforms. Executive orders and reforms. If the president is truly committed to restoring accountability, they could issue executive orders that strengthen the role of inspectors general and reinforce their independence. This could include creating an independent board that evaluates the removal of IGs or setting clear procedures for their protection from political influence. Preventing conflicts of interest. The administration could introduce reforms that require clear disclosures and prevent conflicts of interest within the appointments of IGs. This could involve establishing a nonpartisan committee to oversee the nomination and removal process of IGs, ensuring that individuals with significant ties to political figures or business interests are not selected. 6. Cultural and institutional change. Foster a culture of accountability. Federal agencies should foster a culture where accountability is prioritized. This can be done by making the work of IGs more visible and ensuring that agencies cooperate fully with oversight investigations. There should be a strong institutional commitment to rooting out fraud, waste, and abuse, regardless of political considerations. Training for federal employees. Federal agencies should train their employees on the importance of integrity, accountability, and whistleblower protections. This can help create a culture where employees are not afraid to report wrongdoing and where they understand the vital role of IGs in maintaining transparency. Conclusion. To prevent politically motivated actions like the firing of inspectors general and ensure that the system of government accountability remains strong, it will require a multifaceted approach. Legislative, judicial, and executive reforms, along with stronger public advocacy for transparency, are key to curbing such behavior. In particular, reinforcing the independence of inspectors general, strengthening whistleblower protections, and ensuring robust congressional oversight are critical elements in safeguarding government accountability. Ultimately, creating stronger safeguards will help maintain the balance of power and prevent abuses of power in the future. Question. Trump and the Republican-controlled Congress have no intentions of doing any of this. ChatGPT said, "You're right that with Donald Trump and a Republican-controlled Congress in power, it can be difficult to enact reforms aimed at addressing issues like the politically motivated firings of inspectors general, or IGs. When one party holds significant control, especially in both the executive and legislative branches, enacting reforms to limit or hold that power in check becomes more challenging." Conclusion. While the current political situation may make it feel like systemic change is not possible, there are multiple avenues for fighting back against political overreach and undermining of oversight. From public pressure and advocacy to legal challenges and future elections, efforts to protect government accountability and independent oversight bodies like inspectors general can continue to move forward, even in an environment resistant to such change. While it's certainly a tough challenge, history has shown that even entrenched systems can be shifted with sustained pressure, strategic action, and a focus on future elections and long-term reforms. If you like this content, please subscribe, hit the like button, and comment below this video, and we will be back with more content soon. Thanks for watching, and remember, don't believe the BS, disinformation, and horse manure Trump and Musk are trying to shove down your throat. Have everything fact-checked. Down with Big Brother.